Well, it's time. We have won the match against South Africa. It was 8-wicket win for India, and I have got Pratyay and Gaurav to discuss about the match. बहुत हाई स्कोरिंग नहीं हमने डिजर्व एक्सपेक्ट किया था इस मैच को होने का, बट साउथ अफ्रीका एंडेड अप इन स्कोरिंग 106 रन्स, राइट प्रत्यय?
Bilkul, I think great bowling performance. I think this game will actually look like it was a close game. I mean, if you have watched the game, if you watch the scorecard, you will feel that India actually ended up winning it quite comfortably. But I still think that had South Africa managed maybe another, say, 20-25 runs more, and had it not been for Suryakumar Yadav, because Indians were under pressure, there was no doubt about that. Rohit and Kohli both falling cheaply, and KL Rahul, of course, struggling a little bit for the momentum. But I think had it been a case of another 25 runs, maybe South Africa may well have ended up making a match out of it. But I think credit to Indian bowling, of course, because when you get that kind of a start, I mean, it was an outrageous start, 9 for 5. You don't see that happening often. And when you lose that number of wickets inside the power play, inside the fielding restrictions, then of course you have actually lost all the momentum. So I think it was thanks to, of course, Keshav Maharaj for his innings that they even managed to cross 100, because at one point it did not look like that they would even manage to reach that far. So I think from that perspective, India would be happy with the bowling. But I still think that the batting performance, specifically given the fact that India has been sticking to this new gung-ho approach of batting very aggressively and trying to take on the opposition. So from that perspective, I feel that they would be a little disappointed that they were not able to stick to their plan of attacking the opposition. But you have to also factor in this, that the pitch was not perhaps the most ideal for shot making. There was grass. And we saw how prodigious a movement Deepak Chahar and both Arshdeep Singh, for that matter, both of them were actually extracting at the start. So I think taking all of that in, I think India would be still pretty happy going 1-0 up, winning the toss and restricting the opposition to that kind of a score. Overall, a convincing performance. Maybe another couple of points that they would want to, going into the next game, they would want to counter that. But apart from that, I think it was pretty much a clinical performance.
ग्रेट. नाउ लुक एट द स्कोर कार्ड. जैसे कि हम सब देख सकते हैं कि जिस तरीके से इंडिया का और साउथ अफ्रीका का मुकाबला हुआ, इंडिया ने सबसे पहले टॉस जीत करके बॉलिंग ऑप्ट करी और उसके बाद में हम देखते हैं कि साउथ अफ्रीका, जिनसे हम एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे सिंस द ग्राउंड वाज हाई स्कोरिंग, बट दे एंडेड अप स्कोरिंग 106 रन्स 8 विकेट्स के लॉस पे. और स्टार्टिंग में जिस तरह का इंडिया ने अपनी बॉलिंग से डोमिनेंस दिखाया, उसका रिजल्ट ये निकला कि ये स्कोर हमारे सामने था, जिसमें केशव महाराज ने सबसे ज्यादा 41 रन्स बनाए, वहीं एडन मार्करम ने 25 रन्स जोड़े, अर्शदीप ने अपना कहर बरपाया, उन्होंने 3 विकेट लिए और दीपक चहर ने 2 विकेट लिए. वहीं इसके बाद जब इंडिया बैटिंग करने के लिए आई, छोटा स्कोर उनके सामने था. तो हमारी जो टॉप ऑर्डर था उसमें केएल राहुल को अगर छोड़ दें तो फिर रोहित और विराट कोहली ज्यादा एड अप नहीं कर पाए, बट राहुल ने इटसेल्फ ड्यूटी निभाई. उन्होंने 51 रन्स बनाए, अपनी हाफ सेंचुरी कंप्लीट करी, नॉट आउट गए. वहीं सूर्यकुमार यादव ने उनका साथ निभाया और 50 रन्स बनाए, नॉट आउट गए. साउथ अफ्रीका के एंड से उनके बॉलर्स का गीसो रबाडा को 1 विकेट और अनरिक नोकिया को 1 विकेट, और इसका रिजल्ट इंडिया वन बाय 8 विकेट्स. ये था हमारा स्कोर कार्ड, गौरव. और जैसे कि अभी हम लोग बात कर रहे थे कि जिस तरह की इंडिया की परफॉर्मेंस रही है बॉलिंग की, ओपनिंग स्पेल की अगर बात करें, इट वाज लाइक वेरी मच लाइक जो सभी फैंस को आई गेस काफी टाइम तक याद रहने वाला है, स्पेशली जब T20 वर्ल्ड कप इतना करीब हो. और तब हम अगर इस तरह का ओपनिंग स्पेल देखते हैं, दैट टू जब बुमराह नहीं है आपकी टीम में, आई थिंक दैट इज क्वाइट इंप्रेसिव ऑफ यंगस्टर्स ऑफ दिस टीम, राइट?
Definitely, I think the match was over in the first couple of overs. I mean, आप अगर साउथ अफ्रीका का बैटिंग लाइनअप देखें तो ये कोई वीक नहीं है. They have the likes of Diller, Quinton de Kock, Riley Russo T20 लीग्स में काफी अच्छा खेलते हैं. टेम्बा बबूमा इज द कैप्टन. क्रिस्टियन स्टब्स काफी अच्छे फॉर्म से आ रहे हैं. उन्होंने लेटली काफी ज्यादा रन बनाए हैं और काफी ज्यादा हाइप अप था उनके नाम के अराउंड. लेकिन उसके बाद हम देखते हैं कि दो ऐसे खिलाड़ी जो कि रिसेंटली मैच में खेले नहीं थे, दीपक चाहर के प्लेस के ऊपर काफी क्वेश्चन उठा था कि उनको ऑस्ट्रेलिया के T20 में खेलना चाहिए था, लेकिन उमेश यादव को बैक किया गया. जब बुमराह आए तो ऑब्वियसली उनको बेंच करना ही था. और फिर अर्शदीप सिंह वो एक सीरीज मिस किए थे, तो उन पर एक ना आइस थी कि वो एक सॉर्ट ऑफ छोटे से गैप के बाद कैसे खेल पाते हैं, बिकॉज इंडियन बॉलिंग लाइनअप के ऊपर काफी नजर थी. बिकॉज पिछले सीरीज में हमने देखा बुमराह ने भी रन खाए थे और हर्षल पटेल और भुवनेश्वर कुमार का तो काफी बुरा हाल रहा था डेथ के बाद. अगर आप अपने यंग बॉलर्स को देखते हैं कि ऐसे आकर ऐसा परफॉर्मेंस देते हैं, तो आई थिंक इट्स कमेंडेबल. लेकिन उसके साथ एक फैक्ट ये भी है कि आपको डेली ऐसे मैचेस नहीं दिखेंगे. ये एक स्पेशल केस था जहां पर पिच इतना ज्यादा लाइक आपको ऑफर कर रहा था. आई मीन नो, आप क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकते जो बॉलर ने किया, लेकिन स्टिल आई थिंक अगर जिस तरीके से बॉल घूम रही थी तो आप बैटर्स को बहुत ज्यादा स्क्रूटिनाइज नहीं कर सकते, बिकॉज T20 क्रिकेट में यू आर नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग बॉल टू स्विंग दिस मच. जैसे क्विंटन डी कॉक, टिम्बर बबूमा, आई मीन इनसे बॉल आई मीन पूरे चारों खाने चित होता है, वही हुआ इनके साथ। आई थिंक डेली हमको ऐसे स्विंग नहीं मिलेगी, बट अगर हम लोग ऑस्ट्रेलिया की बात करें तो एक आधा मैच में ऐसा हो सकता है। और हमने देखा है कि ऐसे अगर वर्ल्ड कप, मतलब कि बहुत ज्यादा मैचेस यहाँ पर है नहीं आईपीएल जैसे कि यहाँ पर आप 2-3 आप मैच लूज करके आप कम बैक कर सकते हो। एक ऐसा मैच जहाँ पर ऐसी परफॉर्मेंस तो आपको करने की काफी है। तो आई थिंक डेफिनेटली दो प्रीमियर गेंदबाज हमारे जो भुवनेश्वर कुमार है, बुमराह, वो यहाँ पर नहीं है। एक स्ट्रॉन्ग लाइनअप, और उसके अगेंस्ट में हम देखते हैं कि हमारे यंग बुल्स कितना अच्छा करते हैं। तो दैट्स रियली कमेंडेबल।
प्रत्यय, आई वुड आस्क दिस कि जब सिंस सभी फैंस एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे कि इट इज गोइंग टू बी लाइक अ ग्राउंड व्हिच इज गोइंग टू हेल्प बैटर्स मोर देन बॉलर्स, बट देन इट एंडेड अप हेल्पिंग बॉलर्स मोर. सो हाउ दिस एक्चुअली हैपेंड? बिकॉज आई एम श्योर बहुत सारे लोगों के मन में एक क्वेश्चन होगा, सिंस जब कोई पिच होती है तो उसका एक बिहेवियर होता है, उसकी एक हिस्ट्री होती है, उसके पीछे काफी सारी प्रैक्टिसेस होती हैं जो उस पिच को बनाती है और उसके बिहेवियर को जनरेट करती हैं. बट आउट ऑफ नो वेयर ये तो एकदम आउट ऑफ सिलेबस निकली. सो व्हाई, लाइक इसका मतलब ये भी है कि फिर इंडिया ने जो टॉस जीता वो इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं था, क्योंकि हमने टॉस का रिजल्ट तो वैसे ही देखा जैसा कि हमने ग्राउंड का बिहेवियर देखा था.
See, I think Trivandrum, if you actually talk about what kind of a traditional surface it had, it used to be a decent batting track, but this is the new field, this is the new ground, the new stadia that they were playing at. And of course, two things I think, because there was plenty of grass on the surface, so that allowed perhaps the ball to stay a little new for a little longer and harder for for a little bit longer than what you would normally expect. Also, the fact that there was a little bit of rain in the recent past, so there was perhaps some moisture in the air, which helped in the swing. Because, as Gaurav correctly pointed out, that is, I mean, we see swing maybe a couple of overs, but here we ended up seeing the ball swinging at least till the fifth over, which is very late. And this new ball, the white balls, they do not actually swing that much for that long. Also, the thing is that एक बार जब थोड़ी बॉल को पिटाई पड़ जाती है, फिर वो ग्राउंड पे थोड़ा रोल कर जाती है, उसके बाद वो स्विंग उसकी अपने आप कम हो जाती है. बट this did not happen for two reasons, of course, because South Africa were actually only losing wickets. They were not being able to score runs, तो वो बॉल पुरानी कर नहीं पा रहे थे उतनी ज्यादा. And of course, as I said, that moisture, I think that would have also helped in extending that swing. But still, even if swing is on offer, you still have to exploit it to your advantage, which I think both Arshdeep and Deepak Chahar managed really well. And Deepak Chahar, we know with him. I mean, of course, Arshdeep Singh is more of a bowler who you would be banking on in the death because of what kind of skill sets he has. But Deepak Chahar is someone we know that he has got the knack of swinging the ball both ways. We have seen him doing at the IPL, even for the games that he has played for India. And I think if Bhuvneshwar Kumar is not in form, of course, Deepak Chahar is not a part of the main squad, but if he's not in form, I think he is one of those players who can absolutely replace Bhuvneshwar Kumar, because despite not having that amount of experience, he is someone who can actually make the ball talk, and he can trouble anyone, because he was CSK's trump card in the IPL, kept on giving regular wickets in the power play, and that has been his job in whichever role he has played ever since the start of his career. That is what you expect him to do. And also the fact that he can chip in with the bat as well. So I think he's a very, very handy cricketer. And coming after this, he hasn't played cricket for long, to come and give that kind of a statement. Same even goes for Arshdeep Singh. Missed out the previous series, then generating that kind of swing and the kind of spell that he delivered. Kudos to that. And I think South Africa, I think plenty of things for them to ponder, because it was a patch. They were coming into this series after a good run of form in the T20Is in this particular year, as we were even discussing in the pre-show. But yes, this game is one that they would want to quickly forget, and they would want to prove it an aberration, because you do not expect sides to get bundled out for 105 odd on regular occasions. So I think plenty of things for South Africa to think before they go into the next game. India would be pretty satisfied with how things panned out.
Right, and I would like to talk about Temba Bavuma again, since we were talking about him. किस तरीके से उनका अभी तक की जिस तरह की उनकी जर्नी रही है, लाइक इंजरी के बाद वापस आए हैं, वापस इंडिया के अगेंस्ट खेल रहे हैं, बट उनको खुद उनकी कंट्री में भी इतना ज्यादा ऑनर नहीं किया गया जब ऑक्शंस की बारी आई. बट अगर बबुआ की बात करें तो इस मैच में भी उन्होंने आई गेस उन लोगों को राइट ही प्रूव किया है, बिकॉज ही हैज स्कोर्ड अ 0 इन 4 बॉल्स. और हम देख सकते थे जैसा वो स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे. दो आई कैन कंप्लीटली टेक दिस कि ये पिच ऐसी थी, कोई बैटर यहाँ पर नहीं टिक पा रहा था. बट बबुआ के ऊपर अगेन ये क्वेश्चन उठता है, क्योंकि वर्ल्ड कप इज हियर, लाइक कितने ही मैच है हमारे पास उसके बाद में, सिंस देयर इज लाइक सामने वर्ल्ड कप खड़ा है, तो क्या ये बहुत गलत टाइम नहीं है टेमा बबुआ का कि वो अभी तक फॉर्म में वापस नहीं आए हैं? गौरव, आई विल आस्क यू दिस.
डेफिनेटली आई थिंक कि अगर करंट अगर लाइनअप देखें और ऑप्शन देखें जो साउथ अफ्रीका के पास है, तो आई थिंक कि जो बेस्ट लाइनअप में मेरे ख्याल से टेम्बा बबुआ फिट भी नहीं होते, बिकॉज दे हैव समवन लाइक रीजा हेंड्रिक्स, जिनके पास बहुत ज्यादा एक्सपीरियंस है. उन्होंने 2008 का वर्ल्ड कप खेला था, फिर डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट में बहुत ज्यादा रन बनाए थे. रिसेंटली इंग्लैंड के खिलाफ सीरीज हुई थी इंग्लैंड के घर में, जहां बॉल स्विंग होता है और थोड़ा सा बाउंस भी उनको हेल्प मिलता है, वहां पर रन बनाए थे। उसके बाद हम देख रहे हैं कि वो बेंच पे बैठे हुए हैं। तो अगर ऐसा एक इनफॉर्म बल्लेबाज अगर बेंच पे बैठा रहता है आपकी वजह से, तो फिर ना डेफिनेटली आप पर प्रेशर उठेगा। उनकी कप्तानी के ऊपर तो आई थिंक कि काफी डिसेंट उन्होंने किया वनडे फॉर्मेट में, लेकिन T20I क्रिकेट में उन्होंने बहुत ज्यादा कुछ किया नहीं अगर उनके ओवरऑल करियर की बात की जाए। अगर पूरे अलग लाइनअप में आप देखें तो यू हैव पावर हिटर्स द लाइक्स ऑफ क्विंटन डिकॉक, राइली जूसो आ गए हैं, ट्रिस्टन स्टब्स आ गए हैं, वेन पार्नेल ने काफी अच्छा किया है, और डेविड मिलर तो है ही। तो डेफिनेटली आई थिंक कि काफी ज्यादा स्क्रूटी में है वो, बिकॉज ऑफ द रीसेंट फॉर्म और उनकी इंजरी से भी इश्यू है। तो ये देखना इंटरेस्टिंग होगा कि आने वाले मैचेस में क्या करना होगा, बिकॉज अगर ऐसा हुआ कि प्रैक्टिस मैचेस में और आने वाले मैचेस में वो अच्छा नहीं करते हैं, तो साउथ अफ्रीका क्रिकेट हमने देखा है कि टफ डिसीजन ले सकती है। हमने देखा था कि उन्होंने क्विंटन डिकॉक भी 2 साल पहले ऑल फॉर्मेट कैप्टन थे, वो हट गए। और आई थिंक अगर रीजा हेंड्रिक्स बैठे रहे हैं बेंच में और टेम्बा बुमा टीम में रहकर अच्छा नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो आई थिंक ये भी देख सकते हैं कि वर्ल्ड कप के पहले हम देखें कि ना उनको शायद स्क्वाड में रखा जाए, लेकिन हम देख रहे हैं कि रीजा हेंड्रिक्स स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं। और हमने देखा है कि डेविड मिलर ने रिसेंटली कैप्टन भी की थी, केशव महाराज ने भी की थी। अगर ये इनकेस में नहीं हुआ था, आई थिंक मिलर ही करेंगे। तो डेफिनेटली आगे आने वाले मैचेस काफी क्रूशियल रहेंगे इनके लिए, बिकॉज अगर इनके बल्ले से रन नहीं बनते तो आई थिंक टीम मैनेजमेंट को एक टफ डिसीजन लेना होगा।
आई थिंक इतिहास भी ये इस बात का गवाह रहा है कि कई बार कई टीम्स को ठीक बड़े टूर्नामेंट से पहले एक बड़ा डिसीजन लेना पड़ा है, और समटाइम्स वो प्लेयर्स की फॉर्म होती है तो कभी कभी इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स उसका रीजन होती है। बट अगर साउथ अफ्रीका को ये डिसीजन लेना पड़ा तो आई एम डैम श्योर कि शायद साउथ अफ्रीका को फिर उतना हम लोग जो एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं उनसे परफॉर्मेंस का वो शायद ना हो पाए, क्योंकि ऐसे में टीम का माहौल अंदर खराब हो जाता है जब आप कोई नया कैप्टन या कोई नया लीडर उभरते देखते हैं जस्ट बिफोर एक बड़ा टूर्नामेंट। हमने ये सिर्फ क्रिकेट में नहीं, हमने कई अदर स्पोर्ट्स में भी देखा है, कई बड़ी बड़ी फुटबॉल टीम्स के साथ भी देखा है, कई बार हमने कोचेस को सैक होते हुए देखा है एकदम एक बड़े टूर्नामेंट से पहले। आई होप ऐसा साउथ अफ्रीका के साथ ना हो, बट अगर ऐसा होता है तो दैट इज नॉट समथिंग व्हिच इज गुड फॉर द टीम एट ऑल। बट जो चीज अच्छी है इंडिया टीम के लिए, एक बार हम उसके बारे में बात करेंगे, एंड दैट इज अर्शदीप सिंह टुडे। He took 3 wickets. He was questioned during the match against Pakistan, but he made a comeback. What a performance it is! Like Arshdeep took 3 wickets. He gave away 32 runs. And we know कि ये कितनी बड़ी परफॉर्मेंस है अर्शदीप के लिए भी itself, क्योंकि बहुत क्वेश्चन उठा था इनके ऊपर। बहुत सारे लोगों ने ये कहा था कि अर्शदीप को क्यों स्क्वाड में रखा है, वो जबकि वो अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे थे, बस एक कैच ड्रॉप किया था। बट उसके बाद हम देखते हैं नाउ ही इज बैक। प्रत्यय, what do you want to say about it?
Undoubtedly, I mean, if you talk about his skill set, he is a player. We know what kind of caliber he has, and I think IPL under-19 World Cup से लेकर के IPL का तक का जो उनका performance रहा है, I think in this year's IPL, his death over economy was second to only Bumrah, and when you are second to someone like Bumrah's caliber, then you know what kind of a player you are. And I think skill is something that he has in abundance, because he is again a thinking pacer, because he's someone who will try to vary his lengths. He has got a lot of variations as well, and he is not a bowler who would do 150 or 145 consistently, or he would not even touch that kind of pace. But the amount of variations that he has on that kind of pace that he has, 130, and with those variations, those two things coupled with each other actually make him a very potent kind of an option, I think. And that is what we even saw today. I think, yes, of course, you will talk about the drop catches and all of that, but this is what sport also teaches you, that day perhaps it wasn't his day, ended up dropping a dolly, but then comes back. So it does not make him a lesser of a cricketer, because he comes back and he does what he does with the ball today. So I think a brilliant performance from him as well. The only disappointing thing for him would be the last over that he bowled, because before that, the previous 3 overs that he got, he was even given an extended spell because he was bowling that well. So usually you would see perhaps the captain giving 2 overs and then holding back the next couple of overs for the latter innings of the latter stages of the innings. But we ended up seeing him bowl 3 on the trot, which is again because of the way he was bowling, the kind of swing that he was getting. The last over would be a little disappointing for him when he was taken for a few runs. And I think that is one of the problems that India will have to address as quickly as possible, for the simple reason that, suddenly it's one of those issues that you really did not have until I think even a couple of months ago. And suddenly it has, popped up right before the World Cup, right before going into the World Cup. And I think that is one of the issues that can actually end up, costing you a tournament like World Cup. So I think that is one area that they need to work upon as quickly as possible. Apart from that, I think Arshdeep would be very pleased with this performance, and it's good that he has got back into the wickets right at the start of the series, a couple of matches to go. So it would be good for him to get back into his rhythm.
राइट। और अर्शदीप के बारे में रोहित शर्मा ने भी बोला है कि ही इज ग्रोइंग एवरी मैच, लाइक हम हर मैच में उनको ग्रो होते हुए देख रहे हैं, दैट इज वन गुड थिंग फॉर इंडिया अगेन। बट रोहित शर्मा की अगर बात करें तो इस मैच में वो भी उनका अच्छा रन रही ना, दो केरला में उनके बहुत फैंस हैं, उनका कटआउट भी लगाया था बड़ा सा स्टेडियम के बाहर, दे ऑल वांटेड हिम टू स्कोर रन्स, बट इट वाज अ ट्रिकी विकेट। सो रोहित शर्मा ने भी यही बोला कि इट वाज अ ट्रिकी विकेट फॉर हिम, सो ही स्कोर्ड लाइक zero of 2 balls. But do you see like there's a problem with the wicket only, or there was like Rohit Sharma going with the wrong strategy in that particular pitch? What is actually for Rohit Sharma here?
See, I think if you see his dismissal, I think it was a great delivery. He ended up nicking, and it was a great catch as well. I think it was a one-handed catch that Decock grabbed behind the stumps. But I think it's not Rohit Sharma at the moment is not that big a problem because he has been scoring the runs, and as we have been speaking as well, that he has been the front. He has been the flag bearer of that approach, that aggressive mindset that India has been sticking to. Because in the recent past, whichever series you pick up, whichever innings you see, you will see that he has been in an attacking mode. If that has meant that he has lost his wicket in the process, that is a trade-off that you are making, because you know that whenever you are going to go aggressive, there are going to be certain days when it will not click, and perhaps you will end up losing your wicket, in quick time. But then it depends on what you want to prioritize. Are you wanting to score? Are you willing to take 30 balls and score a 40 in that? Or you are risking and perhaps trying to score those same 40 runs in 20 balls, because that kind of a head start at the start of the innings actually builds the platform for everyone else to come up and capitalize upon. So I think from that perspective, Rohit Sharma is doing the right thing. And as far as even the other batting lineup is concerned, I think everyone has started to adopt to that strategy. And I think that is the way forward, because we have seen England, ever since the 2015 World Cup, that has been their mode of operation. And we have
Even
seen
they took
how
the job in
successful.
the test as well, like not in T20I. England is playing the same way that they play in T20. They are doing it in test as well. Like it's not like the
Absolutely.
difference in red ball or white ball.
True that. I mean, the baseball approach, as we call it. So I think
Yeah.
that is something which has now started to reflect in all the formats, and it is something that I think, given the demand of the format, T20 format, you're getting only 120 legal deliveries to play with. So I think the shorter the format, the lesser the value of wickets. The longer the format, more you try to value a wicket, because in the shorter format, you know that even if you lose a couple of wickets here and there are certain people who are sitting. You perhaps lost a Kohli and Rohit today, but Suryakumar Yadav still came and did the job for you.
Yeah.
Some other day it could be Hardik Pandya doing it for you, Rishabh Pant doing it for you, or a Karthik doing it. So it's just matter of trying to understand how much do you have to value a wicket. And from that aspect, I don't think that Rohit Sharma would be too worried. Of course, he missed out today, so that will be sad, because whenever you do that, whenever that happens, it's not a good sight to see. But still, 2 games to go, and he has been in good form, so I'm pretty sure that he would be able to come good in the next 2 games.
राइट। और फैंस को जिन्होंने डिसअपॉइंट नहीं किया, दैट वाज सूर्यकुमार यादव एंड केएल राहुल। बहुत ही अच्छे से रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी निभाई दोनों ही परफॉर्मेंस ने। सूर्यकुमार यादव स्कोर्ड 50 रन्स नॉट आउट, और केएल राहुल की बात करें 51 रन्स बनाए उन्होंने, नॉट आउट गए। और इन दोनों ने ही काफी फैंस का मनोरंजन किया होगा। एंड आई एम श्योर प्रति, जैसे बहुत टाइम से हम लोग देखते आ रहे हैं इंडिया टीम के इतिहास में भी, पहले हम लोग किसी एक प्लेयर या दो प्लेयर पे रिलाई करते थे कि ही इज गोइंग टू फिनिश द मैच फॉर अस, और ही इज गोइंग टू स्कोर द रन्स फॉर अस। हमें कई ऐसे प्लेयर्स थे जिनके ऊपर पूरी पूरी बैटिंग की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तक जाते हुए देखा गया है कि अगर ओपनर स्कोर नहीं कर पा रहे हैं तो उन खिलाड़ियों पर जिम्मेदारी जाती थी। बट मुझे लगता है कि राइट नाउ टीम इंडिया का ऐसा बैटिंग का लाइनअप है कि जहां पर हर एक खिलाड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, जहां पे हर एक खिलाड़ी अपनी अपनी जिम्मेदारी निभाता है। लाइक इट्स नॉट दैट कि अगर रोहित शर्मा ने रन नहीं बनाए, विराट कोहली ने रन नहीं बनाए, तो क्या हुआ? केएल राहुल, सूर्यकुमार यादव इज देयर, दिनेश कार्तिक इज देयर, ऋषभ पंत इज देयर, हार्दिक पांड्या इज देयर। टिल 6 नंबर, टिल 7 नंबर, आई थिंक इंडिया के ऊपर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी निभाने वाले भी बल्लेबाज बढ़ गए।
बहुत ज्यादा, इसलिए, और आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आईपीएल ने जिस तरीके से इसमें कंट्रीब्यूट किया, या इंडिया की जो डेप्थ है टैलेंट की, अगर हम उसको देखें, क्योंकि इस समय पे भी आप देखें अगर, तो बहुत सारे ऐसे खिलाड़ी हैं जो हमारे पास में नहीं है। आपके प्रीमियम जो पेसर थे आज इस गेम में, वो अवेलेबल स्क्वाड में होने के बाद भी नहीं थे। भुवनेश्वर कुमार, हार्दिक पांड्या ऑलरेडी बाहर हैं, और अभी भी बहुत सारे ऐसे खिलाड़ी हैं जिनका कि नाम आपको इस यूनिट में नहीं दिखता है, जो कि बहुत केपेबल प्लेयर्स हैं। उसके बावजूद भी इस तरीके के 15 के स्क्वाड को लेकर के 11 की उसमें से 11 बना पाना, आई थिंक दैट जस्ट गोज ऑन टू टेल यू व्हाट काइंड ऑफ डेप्थ इंडिया हैज. And even today, I think great amount of credit to Suryakumar Yadav, because this was definitely not an easy track to bat on, and to score those kind of runs that he did on this particular track. I mean, we know that he is someone who has the caliber to score a 20 ball 50 or a 25 ball 50, but on this track, a 33 ball 50 is the kind of innings that you stand up and acknowledge, because it was not easy to bat out there, and yet the kind of approach that he showed once he got in, back to back sixes. At that time, India had managed to score around 16 or 17 in the entire power play. You're talking about not even 3 runs and over. And from there to shift the momentum, that was I think absolutely marvelous of Suryakumar Yadav, and he has done that. I mean, he has shown that plenty of times now. So you know that he is one of the bankable players. No matter what the situation, if you have him around, you would expect your team to win. I think that is a big plus. And of course, KL Rahul. I think the partnership was a key moment in the game, but of course he ended up taking really a lot of balls you do not expect. I mean, it was a very ODI-esque kind of an innings. Definitely not one that you actually see in the T20 over format. But there are two ways to look at it. I think you can of course criticize him for the number of balls that he took, because at one stage he was not even striking at 50. The other way to look at it could be that we saw South Africa collapsing and collapsing terribly. So at that point of time, it was indeed important for someone to hold one end up and ensure that okay, there are no other wickets falling, and Suryakumar Yadav is given the license to play his game attackingly and freely. I think that is where I think I would give a little bit of credit to KL Rahul and would cut him some slack as far as strike rate is concerned. For the simple reason that had he been dismissed, you never know, because you don't expect 9 for 5, but that happened with South Africa. So if he would have been dismissed after Rohit and Kohli, you never know if India would have endured another collapse and things could have changed. And we saw that South Africa still managed to challenge India despite the low score. So from that perspective, I would say that KL Rahul did the right thing, that he held one end up and built that partnership.
Right after this performance from the bowling side, we've got a question from one of our fan, basically Harsh Kamdar. He's asking, should India play Arshdeep over Bhuvi in the World Cup, considering he's a left armer who can both swing and bowl death overs, like giving priority Arshdeep over Bhuvi? Do you see this a right way to put up Harsh ka jo question aaya hai, Pratik?
I think yes. I think to an extent, if you actually go on current form, you would rather pick Arshdeep Singh, because as we saw, I mean, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, entire Asia Cup, the Australia series, he has not looked the Bhuvneshwar Kumar of the old. He hasn't looked that bowler that we know him to be. From that regard, I think Arshdeep Singh could be your choice. Of course, also the other fact that we have a very right-handed, dominant bowling lineup. Arshdeep Singh with his left-handed thing actually brings a variety, and a very rare kind of a variety in your bowling attack. So of course, Arshdeep Singh is a commodity that you would want to have inside your team rather than sitting on the benches. Also, the fact that the kind of form that he has shown in the recent past, Bhuvneshwar has not been that in that kind of great touch. Now he's not playing that series, which means that he is now going to play only a couple of practice games before the World Cup, and after that he has to straight away go into the tournament. But I think the only place where you would perhaps want to back Bhuvneshwar is the amount of experience, because we have seen India actually trying to rely upon players of youngsters or of that kind of caliber. We saw what happened with Rahul Chahar in the previous World Cup. We saw what happened with Varun Chakravarti in the previous World Cup. Cut to 2022, they are not even a part of your squad. They're not even in the scheme of things. And you ignored a player like Yuzvendra Chahal for the fast leg spin of Rahul Chahar in the previous World Cup. Now you are going to do that. So I think from that perspective, it is something which the management will have to think. Also keeping in mind matchups, because T20 format is one of those formats now where the matchups are actually taking a lot of shape, and you actually think about whether you have to bowl this particular bowler at this particular point of time or not. Do you have a favorable matchup or not? So depending on the opposition, that team combination would be decided. But if you generally ask me from an overall perspective, I might as well end up choosing Arshdeep over Bhuvneshwar at the moment on current form.
Great. So before we take up any more question, let's take a look at the social tracker of this match, because जब हम discuss करते हैं उस time पे social media पे भी बहुत सारी बातें चल रही होती हैं. Let's take a look at the first tweet of social tracker of India versus South Africa first T20I. Lucknow Super Giants, definitely इनका tweet expected था, and KL finishes it off in style. India win by 8 wickets, go 1-0 up in the series. Next tweet, please. Sunrisers Hyderabad 50 from Rahul and Sky guide Team India to an 8-wicket victory over South Africa in the first T20I. That's great. Next tweet, please. Boria Majumdar tweeted, KL Rahul is not just a concern, a very big concern, been seeing for a while. Yes, the pitch isn't easy, but 14 of 31, what's the approach? अभी राइट नाउ प्रत्यय से अभी यही बात हो चल रही थी कि केएल राहुल की अप्रोच के बारे में, बट देन अगेन प्रत्यय एक्सप्लेन इट वेरी वेल कि जब एक प्लेयर को आपको एक चांस देना होता है, उसको ओपन हैंड देना होता है कि जाओ भाई स्कोर करो, तो एक बंदे को तो क्रीज पकड़कर बैठना पड़ेगा। और आई थिंक ये अप्रोच इंडिया टीम के लिए कई बार काम आई है, सिंस हमने देखा है कि जिस तरह का कोलैप साउथ अफ्रीका का रहा था, उस हिसाब से अगर इंडिया में एक बंदा वो इनिंग नहीं खेलता तो शायद हम लोग जो मैच इतना 8 विकेट से जीते हैं उसके बाद हम काफी नीचे होते, और शायद जीत में भी हमें छीन के लाना पड़ता उनसे, तब जाकर के हमें जीत मिलती। Though, Pratyay, I'll ask you one more question since we all are waiting for the World Cup, T20 World Cup. Like very basic question for the fans जो जानना चाहते हैं कि किस टीम का अपर हैंड रहेगा वर्ल्ड कप में, बैटिंग हैवी साइड और बॉलिंग हैवी साइड, क्योंकि ये बहुत नॉर्मल क्वेश्चन है। ज्यादातर टीम जो हमने T20 वर्ल्ड कप में देखी हैं, जो क्वालिफाई कर गई हैं, उनमें से बहुत ही कम ऐसी टीम है जिनके पास बॉलिंग और बैटिंग दोनों अच्छा हो, या तो उनका बैटिंग साइड बहुत अच्छा है या उनका बॉलिंग साइड बहुत अच्छा है। तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जाकर के जिस तरह की पिचेस है, कॉम्पिटेटिव पिचेस भी बनाई जा रही हैं, रिसेंट टाइम में हमने देखा है, तो वहां पर जाकर के कौन सी टीम होगी जिसको अपर हैंड रहेगा, बैटिंग हैवी और बॉलिंग हैवी?
See, I think if you talk about Australian pitches, they are very true. I mean, whether you talk about the bounce, and they are going to support pacers a little bit more. Most of the venues, couple of venues here and there aside, Adelaide, maybe a little bit of Sydney as well. But apart from that, generally you would see pace bowlers being more, extracting more things in Australia in particular. But I think you have to strike out a proper balance, because if you talk about the kind of skill sets and the modern T20I games, I suspect that if you would be able to have just a batting heavy approach or a batting heavy side, which would end up winning the tournament, you can perhaps end up winning a couple of games because of that. But if you have to win tournaments, you have to ensure that you are winning back to back games on the trot. And of course, the margin of error, as we say, in bilateral games, India lost the first game against Australia in the previous series, yet they ended up winning the series. So you will remember that, okay, India won that series 2-1. But in a semi-final or in a final, when there's a knockout game, if you end up losing the game there, you do not have any chance of a comeback. So I think that you have to strike out a balance, and that is what we have even generally seen. Pick up any league around the world, the franchise-based league that we are seeing, or even the international format, you will realize that every single role is being very clearly defined. And in every auction, when the teams actually starting to shape their teams, they have their priorities well set, that they want this kind of a pacer, whether they want to load up their side with the spinners because they have certain kind of players. So I think it is at that stage when both the things are equally important, and you really cannot be picking up, because as I said, that maybe one game or two games you might as well end up winning on your strength. But if you have to win a tournament, you have to ensure that all the boxes are ticked. As for favorites, I think you have to go with Australia for two reasons. I think, of course, the kind of cricket they've been playing in the recent past, and home advantage, that is a proven factor, because it's their home. Though although it has never happened that any side has actually managed to defend the title in the T20 World Cup history. But I think given the fact that it is Australia, they are playing in their den. So of course you have to give them at least a little bit more advantage than any other teams. But having said that, it's a very fickle format, and you really cannot expect. I mean, no one expected Sri Lanka to win the Asia Cup, but they ended up doing that. So it's a very, very fickle format. Anything could happen. But if you have to ask me my favorites, I think it has to be Australia this time.
Okay, and what about Pakistan? Like, are they going to put up a big challenge, because they have got great pacers and we have seen them in Asia Cup, and इसके अलावा भी अगर बात करें तो Pakistan is known for their bowling. So are they going to be that difficult team to play against in Australia?
Undoubtedly, because if you look at what kind of pace attack they have, and not just the pace attack, I mean, if they are able to solve their middle order issues at the moment, because right now a couple of issues that in their batting is it has to be their middle order, and again the same dreaded debate of the strike rates of Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan. If they can actually tick those two boxes, you might as well see Pakistan springing up a surprise, because even in the Asia Cup and even against England in the ongoing series, it has been a topsy-turvy kind of a series, seesawing, between England and Pakistan. But the performances have been pretty good. But Pakistan, we always talk about them. It's a very unpredictable team, very unpredictable side, and they can well be the underdogs in the World Cup, because you know what kind of players they have, and on their day they can actually end up doing anything. And as you rightly pointed out, the pace attack that they have, Australian pitches, certainly it's going to be one of the teams that you would want to be wary of. But the good thing for Pakistan also is that they are slightly in the easier group. They're not in the group of death. So I think they would also fancy their chances too. And specifically after the heartbreak of 2021, they would definitely want to kind of redeem themselves this time around.
Right. Thank you so much, Pratyay, for joining me for the show, and thank you, Gaurav. Though लुका छुपी चल रहा था Wi-Fi से, but that is completely fine. This this happens in virtual world. So thank you so much, Pratyay, for joining me for this particular post match. We'll see you in the pre-match, and to the fans also, you can just simply follow us Cricket Tracker on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, whatever the format you want, because we are on Telegram as well. You can get all the updates there. Pratyay के articles पढ़ने के लिए you can go to the website and just simply read whatever he thinks about the match, and also you can give us your opinion on the comment section. We'll take just the way we did this in this particular live. So आपको मिलते हैं हम लोग नेक्स्ट प्री मैच में, जब टीम इंडिया खेलेगी साउथ अफ्रीका के अगेंस्ट गुवाहाटी में, तब मिलेंगे और बात करेंगे मैच के बारे में. तब तक के लिए देखते रहिए और बने रहिए इन द एयर शो प्रेजेंटेड बाय क्रिकेट ट्रैकर.